Fam, what's going on? Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys joining us this morning on Bama Football on YouTube. Let me ask you from the jump as we get started. Do you think that Alabama will land a transfer portal target this weekend? If you do, type Y inside the comment box. I appreciate you. Good morning to everybody. What's up, Kyle? I appreciate you. Good morning, Batman. I appreciate you. Good morning, Jeff. Thank you so much. And everybody out there in the undefeated or the Alabama football ecosystem, good morning to you. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. You know, if you think that Alabama will get a transfer portal commitment, type in Y right now. Good morning, Rob. I see you inside the comment box. I think it'll be a big weekend for Alabama football on the transfer portal front. I think you probably get, a player from the secondary, and I think that you do get a prospect in Khalil Jacobs, right, from South Alabama. I think that just makes sense. So, I'm on board with you guys. I think you probably pick up 2 commitments. So before we talk about transfer portal, and the call-in line is open, 205-850-1994. That is the call-in line number. And let me know you guys watching from inside the comment box as well. I appreciate you guys being here and, rapping with me this morning. I have Ty Hayes and Coach Sean coming up at 10 a.m. So excited to see what those guys have to say on the transfer portal front. A couple of things. When I was kind of perusing social media this morning, Jeff's out in Pell City. That's what's up. Kyle's all the way out in Colorado. Kyle recognized Kyle. Kyle recognized Kyle. And Rob is out in Ohio. That's what's up. I was watching Coach Saban. And Coach Saban, he was doing, he visited, I don't even know, I'll have to do more research, but he was visiting with a church. And he was talking kind of about like life lessons and leadership. And it was amazing to see his delivery and kind of where he's taken his next route after coaching, right? And I think he's always been so big into mentorship, into giving back, and kind of like the psychological disposition of just working with people and getting everybody, like people, better. And that is what coaching is, right? Coaching is teaching, and he always kind of relays into that. And I think with that, it's apparent that, he's just fully embraced this retirement. And did you see that, Kevin? That was really great, right? And you look at kind of like Coach Saban in his golden era of life. What's up, Patriot Life? Good morning to you. I see you. Good morning. And the golden era, right? Like he's doing things that he wants to do. Like the NFL debut with the NFL draft, it was perfect. Like he couldn't have done any better. I mean, if you were to grade Coach Saban, right, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, what would his rating be? What would you think? What's up, Avery? Good morning. I appreciate you guys. Would you say it was a 10? I think it would probably, and we don't look, and I know you guys are tough inside the comment box on grading. I would probably, and we don't give out like 11s that often, but I would probably say 11. He was so, thank you. Yeah, Willow, I agree with you. It was crazy. What's up, Matthew? I appreciate you, man. Work is work, man. I hear you, man. I know you're starting. You see 10s, you see 12s out there because he was able to be that impactful, right? So I love kind of just like the mental space to where he's at. Good morning, C-Bama. And what's up? I'm doing Patriot Life. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. But the thing about it is, he's doing what he wants to do. And him and Miss Terry, since Miss Terry was a teacher, right? He's also a teacher. He relates to coaching being teaching. So I love that aspect of it. And call line is open at 205-850-1994. I hope you guys are having a really good day. I started off the day kind of, practicing gratitude and got the workout in, of course. And it was great to, kind of just embrace kind of the gratitude. I went to bed last night thinking about people I'm grateful for, thinking about, I'm grateful for you guys, my kids, the things that are going on in my life. And I think sometimes that helps kind of alleviate some of that anxiety that, we carry as people. And I think anytime that you practice, gratitude, it's kind of brings you to kind of like a level surface. Right. Ronnie's like Coach Saban was at a 12, 100%. So I don't know. I just want to start off the show kind of like giving some more flowers to Coach Saban, because kind of like the post-retirement has been really admirable to continue to see what he's been able to do. It's amazing. And just have so much respect for what he's done. And then the thing about it is Miss Terry's always in the back end, leading kind of the Habitat for Humanity, right? So really good to see. Alabama has a really big weekend in terms of the transfers that are coming in to visit. So you have a prospect from Penn State who's coming on board. You also have a prospect from South Alabama who's coming on board, and Khalil Jacobs. And I probably would predict him to commit to Alabama. And then you have Deshaun Jones out of Wake Forest. So those guys are from the transfer portal. And then there's, I think, the number one player from the state of Indiana is also in on the recruiting front. And, it's a really big weekend for Alabama for several different reasons. I think that fans, once they found out about Isaiah Hamilton, who I think certainly was in play for Alabama and was a target for Alabama, I think everybody kind of looks at that and seeing that he's going to Ole Miss and not even visiting Alabama. Man, it's really been quite impressive to see what Lane Kiffin has done on the transfer portal front, right? In terms of loading up and being able to add to his arsenal of transfer portal talent. And I would imagine that Ole Miss makes another impressive run this coming season, right? You look at last year, what they did under Lane Kiffin. I mean, look, I would even venture to say when I'm looking at Ole Miss that they punched kind of above their weight, right? What's up, Jimmy Baker? I see you inside the comment box. And I think with Isaiah Hamilton, you're probably chasing the bag, but probably got a better offer from Ole Miss. It's amazing to think that Ole Miss, I mean, are you surprised? Like, because when I think about Alabama and Ole Miss, Alabama clearly, ahead, but like in terms of like who has a better NIL, who can offer more money, it might be, it seems to be Ole Miss, I guess. Yeah, that's a really good point, Jimmy Baker, right? And you talk about kind of the development from Lane Kiffin. This is a good one too. How many prospects has Lane Kiffin sent to the NFL draft in terms of like the first round? Does anybody know offhand on the undefeated? Because I know he's a hell of a college coach, and I know he's like a hell of a like X's and O's guy schematically from the offensive standpoint. But in terms of like the overall development, that has to be something that has to be on your mind. Kevin's saying it's one. That's crazy. 2? Is it 2? Is it 1? Is it 2? That's wild. Is that true? Can somebody back that up? Looking for my coffee. I thought I put the coffee on the table. So I think the developmental process is something to certainly look at. Look, Kalen DeBoer went crazy in the NFL draft. I mean, he sent a ton of guys from Washington, right? Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer was like, I don't know, a large percentage, or a percentage that was valued went to the NFL from either Alabama or Washington. Let's look at Ole Miss's schedule real quick, just so we can see it. Ole Miss football schedule. Because, man, they've loaded up. I just want to see what their schedule. I mean, we looked at the back end of Alabama's schedule yesterday, which I still think is the hardest in college football. Let's take a glance at Ole Miss's schedule real quick. I'm curious to see what they are doing. Let's see. I gotta close that. Open this. All right. Okay. So Ole Miss. Okay. This is their schedule, and let's go ahead and grade this schedule on two fronts. This is Ole Miss right here. We'll grade them on a scale of 1 to 10. With the first half of their schedule, like 10 being the most challenging, and then we'll do the same thing with the back end. So let's call the front end these games: Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest. Wow, they have this. So if 10 is the most challenging for this first half of Ole Miss's schedule, I'm going to say this is like a 2. Ole Miss wins all these games running away, right? They're going to beat Furman. They're going to beat Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, South Carolina. My goodness, that is, I mean, geez. They're going to fly through this thing. Crazy. What's up, Jermaine? I see you inside the comment box, man. That is such a light front end schedule for Ole Miss. Okay, now let's go to this back end. This is what we'll call the back end. starting with LSU. All right, look, they have 2 open weeks on this back end as well. So at this point in time, I mean, I would imagine they're still up in the top 5. What's up, Clink? See you inside the comment box, man. So at this point in time, I would imagine that Ole Miss is undefeated going into a very challenging game against LSU. We'll take a look at LSU's schedule next. Okay, so let's rate now the schedule for Ole Miss on the back end in terms of 1 to 10, 10 being the most challenging. So you got at LSU, challenging, Oklahoma, challenging, but you have 2 weeks to prep. Right? Do you? Oh, that's weird. 2 weeks to prep for Oklahoma, and then you have at Arkansas. Could be a trap game right there, kind of depending on what's happening with the Hogs. Georgia, Florida. Okay, I'm going to say the back end schedule is much more challenging. So I'm going to say the back end. What would you say? Probably I'm going to say a 7 on the back end because they do go to Florida despite what's happening, and they play Mississippi State. So despite what's happening, on the front end, this is a tough back end schedule, right? Let me get this banner taken down so we can see the schedule in full. All right, there's a schedule in full, right? It's a tough kind of back end for Ole Miss. Anyways, Alabama's is crazy. That's a tough back end schedule for Ole Miss. I guess I was getting to Ole Miss because of the fact that when you look to, where things are in the transfer portal, what is going to happen with Alabama football this weekend. And I think that Alabama will land 2 transfers. I don't know if they'll get the Penn State safety. I don't know if they will get I know they'll get Khalil Jacobs for sure. He's probably, a lock. He's a linebacker who I think who's pretty good. Remember, if you kind of rewind, he entered the transfer portal and then he left the transfer portal and now he's back in the transfer portal. And so we're still going to see a couple transfer portal movements through the back end. Call line is open 205-850-1994 is the call line number. But I think overall, when you look to how Coach Kalen DeBoer has utilized the transfer portal, I think he's done a really good job. You really can't control players that don't want to be here. You can't control people that don't want to be anywhere, right? So when you do lose a Peyton Woodyard, a Brockemeyer, a Tony Mitchell, and I still think Tony Mitchell, that was, and he hasn't gone anywhere. Just because you enter doesn't mean you have to leave, but I think the writing is on the wall that he'll leave. I mean, he did into the transfer portal. Matthew Lex King Mack. That is King Mack. If you hear that name, he is the safety from Penn State. But I still feel that Coach Kalen DeBoer was able to win inside the transfer portal. And I still feel overall that Graham Nicholson is probably the best pickup in college football from the transfer portal, right? I do. I think that we sleep on special teams as a society. I'm not sure why. Can you imagine not having Will Riker these past couple of seasons? Man, these are some tight games. Everybody's catching up to everybody. And if you don't have a solidified field goal kicker, place kicker, you're in trouble. So what Kalen DeBoer was able to do inside the transfer portal, picking up Graham, was monumental. And I still think that is the biggest win. He won the Lou Groza Award, right? Period. I also feel that adding Keon Sabb was a monster addition because you have a day one impact player. Like, that guy is going to shine. He is going to play in the NFL. He is going to be, I don't know, he might be, along with Deontay Lawson, he might be the most impactful player on the defensive side of the ball in college football. On the defensive side of the ball, I think he is going to be that impactful for Alabama in the secondary, right, Matthew? I agree. Yeah. So I feel that, Graham Nicholson, Keon Sabb, and then with the addition of Jeremy Bernard, that's another huge addition. So, depending on what happens with Alabama on the back end, if they don't get Like I felt that Isaiah Hamilton would be a better get than Deshaun Jones. I just liked Isaiah Hamilton out of Houston. I like this game better than Deshaun Jones. Does that mean Deshaun Jones a step back? I don't know. I mean, it's up for debate. I mean, guys have to play here in the SEC. Guarding a wide receiver in the SEC is like guarding a NFL wide receiver. It's challenging. Ask Kool-Aid and Terrion about playing LSU. Last year, Malik Neighbors was targeted 18 times in one game. Malik Neighbors. Imagine having to deal with him for 4 quarters. That's what it's like in the SEC. This isn't the Pac-12. This isn't the Big Ten. Like, this is good morning, Jenny. What's up? I see you inside the comment box. I hope you're having a great day. Lisa Fitzhugh is saying, my bet, Bama canceled Hamilton, not the other way around. He's not worth anywhere close to the bag he wants. Smart of Bama to walk away. And this could also be something that, maybe – he came in here wanting a ridiculous amount of money. I heard I can't remember where I saw it, but that the big man from Rutgers also wants a big bag. So, I mean, now, I know it's a problem to have an elite basketball team and an elite football team, right? But now the players chasing bags, like how much money is there really in the collective? Like, can you pay? Because doesn't that money come out of the same pot? Like this Yay Alabama, right? Like, can you pay to get the big man Cliff? And can you pay to get Isaiah Hamilton? Can you pay to get, the next guy as well? I mean, Grant Nicholson probably didn't come for free. I don't think he was like, I just want to go kick at Alabama. He got paid. So, like, wouldn't it be amazing to see a complete breakdown of like where the money is going for Yay Alabama, or how these pay? I would love to see how much the players are getting paid. Why can't we see this? How much do you think Milroe's getting paid from Alabama? All right, I don't know. So I think when you rank the transfers, and let me ask you, inside the comment box, when you look to the transfers that Coach Kalen DeBoer has brought in. Hey, Demetrius, good morning to you. I see you inside the comment box. What do you think? How would you rank the transfer portal's additions from Coach Kalen DeBoer? And we haven't even really talked about Parker Brailsford because we didn't get to see him even snap a ball, right? That was probably the most problematic thing for Alabama football last year, was having someone who snaps, right? So I think on that front, when you look at it, when you kind of zoom out and you look to who Coach Kalen DeBoer has, brought in, I still think that Alabama did just fine inside the transfer portal. I think that, Ole Miss, I think that Ohio State, they certainly loaded up, but we have certainly learned many times. See, Jermaine, I know they have him making 1.5 or whatever, but I think that's like his estimated value. I think I don't know. I think he's definitely making $1 million for sure. Steven, what's up, man? Appreciate you. The new era of excellence begins for sure. 100%. Dwayne is saying some of these kids are just looking for a payday when they haven't even taken an SEC snap. The whole pay-to-play concept for student athletes is getting ridiculous. We have learned also that you can't buy a team. And I think a perfect example of that, and I appreciate it, Dwayne. Thank you so much for being here. What's up, Hacker Music? I love you being here, man. Appreciate you. And I think a perfect example is the way that Texas A&M tried to buy their organization a couple years ago under Jimbo Fisher, right? They literally purchased everybody. And that coach doesn't even have a job anymore. So just because you have endless resources to buy whoever, it still comes down to the X's and O's. It still comes down to the program stability. So I think what Coach Kalen DeBoer did in terms of going to special teams, Alabama, I get it. Connor Talty and these other guys, maybe they would grow into being a kicker, but you need a day one starter at the place kicking position, field goal kicker immediately. So we fixed that. Alabama needed a center, right? They needed to fix that. They fixed that. It's debatable. Did Alabama need another wide receiver to jump in? Probably so. He did that. Jeremy Bernard. Alabama needed help in the secondary. Well, he's doing that. He brought in Keon Sabb. Coach Saban brought in Damani Jackson. Coach Kalen DeBoer also brought in Cam Howard, and is probably going to bring in somebody else as well, right? Old Rock guy, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. A better example is USC under Riley. They got worse instead of better. Oh, yeah. I mean, they never, ever addressed their defensive needs. And I guess that is kind of some of my fear when I look to Coach Kalen DeBoer coming in. And two reasons. Number one, I am fearful because I feel, in my opinion, and I know it was just kind of a glorified practice, but I didn't see an overall elite, defense during the scrimmage. Now, I know it's more designed, I guess, for the offense, but my fear is that Kalen DeBoer just comes in and it's just this offense that's just scoring 60 points, and kind of the defense is just the defense, and they're good, but they're not elite. But maybe the game of college football has changed. Maybe the game of football has changed overall. I mean, Coach Saban even said during the NFL draft, most of the players the better players are playing on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't think you, as an Alabama football fan, would care one bit if Alabama, think back. What was the score last year? I'll look it up real quick. Ole Miss versus LSU last year. What was it? 2023, the score. It was 55-49. I kind of feel that this is the new wave of college football, right? And I think that is, damn, Jenny, what's up? Jenny, we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We really appreciate you. You're amazing. And, if you don't know Jenny's story, it's quite remarkable, honestly. So during A-Day, Coach Sean, Coach Smook, myself, we all met Jenny. And it was really amazing. And Patriot Life was there, right? Patriot Life was there too. And we're just like casually talking. I tell this story a bunch of times because it needs to be told. So we're all just talking. We're meeting everybody. And we run into Jenny. And she mentions that she has stage 4 cancer. And she's, crossing out bucket lists, and she always wanted to go to Alabama's A-Day and wants to go to football games. I think, Jenny, are you going to that? Did you say you're going to the Iron Bowl this year? Contact T. Will you put our email in there so Jenny can contact us? I got an idea for the Iron Bowl because the Iron Bowl is coming up. Taylor has some remarkable seats. So Jenny, we want to take care of you. Can we make that happen? T, can you put the email in? So anyways, Jenny is a strong supporter of us, and Patriot Life and I, we've been talking about ways to, support Jenny even further. She's getting ready to go to Hawaii to go see her son for Mother's Day. And, we're excited about it. So Jenny, email us or just text us as well. And I think and we'll take care of you. Right. T, am I allowed to say that we can, take care of her with some incredible seats? So we appreciate you, Jenny. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so Jenny, and do we have pictures? Could you show where the seats are, T, that you have? They're literally on like the second row behind the end zone. It's crazy. Maybe we'll do a fan funder, maybe like experience this year. I don't know. I'll have to talk to T about that. I think we got Coach Daryl on the line. Let's get Coach Daryl plugged in. Man, it is. Appreciate you guys. All right. Coach Daryl, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me ask you, the transfer portal. I mean, look, I get it. Maybe you missed out on Isaiah Hamilton and maybe a couple other guys, but do you feel, in terms of like taking care of absolute needs, that Coach Kalen DeBoer did that. Like I look to, like we sometimes forget, like I don't know how we forgot already. Like Graham Nicholson is checked in, Parker Brailsford. I'm guessing he can snap the football. I mean, you saw what where Michael Penix went. Even though we didn't get to see him snap this year or this spring, Jeremy Bernard's in, looked like a baller. Keon Sabb, baller. So the additions that he brought in, pretty damn good. I feel like they still have to add maybe one or two, but overall, I'd probably give him still an A with what he brought in the transfer portal. Would you agree with that?
I 100% concur. I give him an A plus because he met the needs that we needed. We needed depth. We lost our whole secondary just about except for one guy, and so we needed some experience. We got some young guys coming in that again, that's an unknown factor. We won't know until the rubber hits the road till we get to fall camp. Whether they're gonna contribute or not. They may contribute, but right now we don't need them. We need some solid people at those positions, so that when we come to camp, we're not guessing, we're not pulling straws and trying to figure out what's happening. We have a plan. We know who's going to play, and we know who's going to be the starters. So I give him an A plus.
Yeah, no, I agree. But we've also learned that in Ty Hayes, he says this a lot, is you can't treat it like you can't buy a team. It's about kind of fixing, maybe a patch or whatever. But what do you think about, how Coach Kalen DeBoer has facilitated the transfer portal compared to other teams who are trying to buy, kind of buy a roster?
Well, I think he's done a very good job because just the fact that people are considering Alabama shows you that the name is still relevant. It shows you that the name is still has weight, and it shows you that the people that are considering, they know that the coaching staff is going to be fire. They know that the coaching staff is going to be relentless. They know that the coaching staff is going to be relentless, but of the tradition of Alabama. They know that. And so they know the tradition. And when it comes down right to it, we're going to lose some, we're going to win some. But we can't worry about what win we got. We got to move forward, coach the guys we got, and the guys that want to come, the door's open. The portal's open for about, another 10 days or so. And so until then, I mean, we got all kind of, could be, maybe. Well, you got to ask these kids. It's time to put maybe out. What are you going to do when I come for you?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for chiming in this morning. I'll catch you on the next episode, man. But thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll get at you next time. Yep, thanks, Coach. Appreciate you, man. All right, my boy, Coach Darrell, calling out from Huntsville, and Mr. B, you want to get to your comment real quick? Hayes onto the show. Ty, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here, bro.
What's going on?
Appreciate you, man. Happy Friday. So Mr. 205 says, if the season started today, 10 being the most concerned, 1 being the least. This is a great question, honestly. How do you feel about the secondary if the season started today? Like, this is a great question. So let's say that a game starts tomorrow, right? Alabama's playing whoever tomorrow. How do you feel about the secondary right now?
This is an interesting question. It really is. Now, I'm going to answer this in a typical Ty fashion, so I apologize, but I think mine would be a 5, only because we have youth, but talent is there. The other question I have specifically at cornerback is just lack of numbers. We were talking about this last night. In terms of scholarship guys, you have Damani Jackson, you have Zay Mincy, you have Zabian Brown, you have got Jalen Mbakwe, and you've got Jaleel Hurley. So off the top of my head, you have 5 scholarship cornerbacks. We know what happened in that national championship against Georgia. Everybody talks about the 2 wide receivers who weren't present, and deservedly so. I mean, Jamison Williams is an absolute weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Jobe nor Jalen Armour-Davis were present in that game. You were already dealing with injuries. So I would say a 5, only because I think that the safeties, I don't worry about Alabama's safety room right now between Malachi, between Keon Sabb, and whether that other one's Devontae Smith, Red Morgan, right? I think the safety is really good. But outside cornerback gives me a little bit more concern. The only thing I'll say before we pass this to yourself, Kyle, and Coach Sean, or whatever order, is that you do get 3 games in Western Kentucky, USF, and Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's going to be a game, but let's be honest, the Big Ten isn't exactly known for being pass happy. I think you get 3 games to really tune up, but then you get Georgia. And they're a really balanced offense. So I would go 5 only because the safeties alleviate concerns, whereas the corners, it's just the numbers that give me concern.
Yeah. Coach, what's up, man? Busy.
Hey, what's up?
Busy guy this morning, man. See you on all the platforms. I love it, man.
Yeah.
They're doing your thing.
Yeah, man.
And I love it because we have Coach Sean on Fridays. So Coach Sean's schedule, as you guys know, allows him to be here in the morning times for Fridays. So you get your morning dip of Coach Sean. This is a great question, Coach. And last night you guys had a killer show. What about you? Would you be concerned about like the secondary, like on a scale of 1 to 10? It's a great question. If Alabama had a game, like let's say tomorrow.
Yes.
Me too.
Yes, I definitely be concerned because I understand the dynamic of 5-star status as opposed to experienced status. Taking nothing away from the young corners, these kids are talented and they're going to be eventually very, very, very good. But game experience is finite. It is finite. I told Ty last night that and it's kind of what Ty just said. Sure, you have a couple of games in the beginning of the season that I wouldn't really be too concerned. But when you get into SEC action, especially against offensive coordinators who are very, very crafty, like a Josh Heupel, as I said, they will exploit a young corner. It is so much you can do to put a young corner into precarious situations. And it's nothing like game experience, man. Look at Caleb Downs last year. Caleb was as talented of a freshman in the secondary as I have seen. And I seen Caleb at a camp in Atlanta like 2 years ago. And didn't know who he was. He was playing offense and defense. I knew his high school, Mill Creek, I think it was. And that kid was as talented as a defensive back as I have ever seen coming out of high school. He could do everything. And Texas caught him in a couple of precarious situations and threw the ball right at him. So game experience, you take the wrong angle, you get beat. You take the wrong leverage in the secondary, you get beat. People like Sark, people like Heupel, they will exploit that. So yes, to answer your question, I would be definitely concerned. Yes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think so. And kind of what I saw from springtime and what I was saying earlier in my segment is that I felt that even you could see during A-Day that Alabama's defense, it's not completely built yet, right? There's still holes on Alabama's defense. Like, so if they're playing a game tomorrow, like you, I'd be really concerned because I'm going right after Xavier Brown. I promise you, I'm going. My first is a takeoff his way. And I'm challenging him the first couple of series. I promise you. If I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm designing everything around going right at Alabama's inexperience at corner. Everybody knows it. So just say it. And they know that. Like Alabama coaches know that. That's why you have guys that are coming in that could maybe facilitate that. But these guys are also going to grow up from now up until then, right? So I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Ty, I wanted to ask you real quick before I let you guys get out. I feel like 3's a crowd, and I like you guys to work in the tandem. You guys do such a great job. Love the show last night, by the way. Killer stuff. Ty, when we look to like buying a team versus kind of, because I was thinking about what you said earlier. You have to like kind of patch what you have in the transfer portal, but you can't buy a team, right? We've seen this done. I said Texas A&M. Someone inside the comment box said USC is an even better example. You cannot just buy this team. And I feel that the team has tried to buy a team this year, 2 teams, Ole Miss and Ohio State. Now we looked at Ole Miss's front end schedule. It is a cakewalk. I promise you, it's a cakewalk. But I mean, clearly you can't buy a team, but I mean, Lane Kiffin with the schematics that he has, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Ty, what's your take on like buying a team as opposed to like kind of filling in your spots, which I think Alabama has done, but Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, I feel like they bought in their rosters. Ty, we can't hear you, Ty.
That's your morning time blunder right there, trying to talk on mute. That's what happens when you do this live. You're bound to get something like that. But Ohio State's a little bit more interesting to me because I think they already had a foundation in place to where, yeah, they did a lot of buying, but it's almost like building a mansion upon a already set solid foundation. Now, how solid that nets them, I don't know. Coach Sean and I were talking about this last night.
Yeah.
Ryan Day's got as much pressure as anybody in college football on him. But Ole Miss is a little bit more different because I don't know that their foundation was as set as Ohio State. And maybe Coach Sean will disagree. I'm interested in hearing this, but I liken this to the transfer portal and NIL, I think, is a balancing act. And I've always been of the mindset that you have to use it as a Band-Aid because if not, why are guys transferring, right? It's kind of the reason why this past week, the people at Colorado, they put out a video about like Dylan Edwards and they were like, oh, well, these kids just don't want to compete. And I was like, that's an incredibly disingenuous statement because you're getting guys that are transferring because they didn't want to compete. So what are we doing here? Like, that's just like saying, I don't like a horse, so I'm going to go buy a horse. Makes absolutely no sense. It was just incredibly facetious. So I'm of the mindset that if you use it as a Band-Aid, it's fine, but I don't want to use the word mercenary, but for lack of a better word, mercenaries, right?
Yeah.
Like you have people that are there for something not cultural or not something that's really conducive to long-term team success. They're there for money.
Coach Sean?
That's a whole fact. I agree with you 100%. And, I will admit that I was sort of wrong about this. I didn't play in the NIL era, and I didn't think NIL would really cause this much division within the locker room. But I think I was wrong about that. I think Lance Hunter said it, man. It does. It does. I know this personally. I was talking to a coach here last Tuesday. One of the guys that I used to actually work for, Coach Wade Waldrop. And he was coach here in Madison. Now he's a coach in Georgia. And he told me, he said, man, listen, that NIL is ripping my team apart. Kids are coming in his office mad that this kid got this, that, and the third. These offers that, and remember, this is high school. These kids are getting these offers, these things promised to them. This kid is mad that this kid is going to potentially get this. Well, I only got AAA. Why does he get to get blah, 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 blah. And this is at the high school level, kids that's going into college. So I was wrong about that. I was definitely wrong about that. It is ripping everybody. It is becoming a problem within the locker rooms. I will say this, though. That's why I'm all for what the Big Ten and the SEC is doing. They're getting together to try to get together to actually create a revenue sharing pot with the team, that way everybody get an even Steven fee, and we'll share it with you guys. It should be a potentially astronomical amount for you. This is what it is. You can't transfer. Sign on the dotted line if you agree. So I agree with you, Ty, 100%. It is becoming an issue.
Let me ask you guys this, and again, thank you very much, Jenny, for your support this morning and your contributions this morning, Mr. B, with your good question, and welcome in Mark to our undefeated family right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I'll start with you, Coach Sean, on this one. Do you think we ever? Let me get that banner off. I don't know why Coach Sean got moved down there, but do you think that we ever get to a point in time, Coach, where, and this is for you too, Ty, that somehow NIL gets structured in terms of like based off performance and is incentivized? So for example, and maybe this would be a smarter way to do it, and I talk about this frequently on the show, like if you're a freshman and you play 10 games, you get an added $20,000 bonus. If you make All-American team as a freshman, you get a $100,000 bonus. If you you score 10 touchdowns, you get $1,000 per touchdown. If you graduate and you get your master's degree, you get $400,000, right? And you get these added bonuses. So here's your incentive. So not only like you get your opening package. Okay, welcome to Alabama football. You get $150,000. You're getting your education paid for. And look, here's physical money that you get, okay, along with the car. But also, here's your incentivized list. And the more you're here, and the harder you work, and the more you climb, and what you work for, here's what you work for. right? And when you're a level 3, that means a junior, that you're still here getting your degree. This is where you're at on our tier form. And instead of that 150, you're getting paid, 350. So you kind of move up like in the working world, right? Yeah. Because I don't know, like you guys both have jobs before this, in other jobs. Like Coach Sean, did you start making top end money, or are you at the top of the ladder? Did they start paying you that salary automatically, or did you have to? Thank you. There's like your job is incentivized, right? Like you have goals, you have a supervisor who meets with you, and you have to climb. Did they give you everything your first time, your first year, Coach, with your job?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is exactly as you said. I had to come in, show that I'm worth value, first of all, and actually learn what I was doing, become better at what I was doing. And you know how that go. You actually gradually climb. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea. And I'm gonna tell you something. What you just said, I think, is what some sort of model that's similar to what you just said. I really do believe that's what they're gonna go to, because the transferring is what's becoming a great problem. It's becoming a ridiculous problem. Something to keep these kids at a school, especially the graduation. Kids that's able to go to the pros, some type of package to keep the kids from just leaving after 1 year, going to another school, leaving after that year. I cannot even imagine being a college kid going to 2 different universities. How do you establish relationships? Some of the best times of my life was in college. That I have friends and teammates now that I made in college that I'll have the rest of my life.
Yep.
So I can't even imagine going to 2 or 3 different universities.
Well, and Coach Saban said too that every single time that you transfer, your chances of graduating goes down, right?
It's a fact. It's a whole fact. That's a whole fact. So I think that's a great idea, what you just said. I really hope they listen to that, because I think that will keep kids from jumping around. And if you all about the money, supposedly, it'll keep you at the university. At least you're at the university that you sign with.
Ty, why don't you hit on what's your thoughts? Could NIL ever be, in a place where it's incentivized? Is there cons to that? I mean, does it not make sense? What do you think?
I off the top of my head, I can't think of some cons for it. I'm sure that I could probably theorize something, but that being said, I could probably then theorize an argument to take that down. But here's my thoughts on this, right? I think that the best way to get there is something that Coach Sean was just actually alluding to in this little past question you asked him when he said that he really likes what the SEC and the Big Ten is doing. And that's the revenue sharing model. Because if we get to revenue sharing, that means name, image, and likeness can be just that. Name, image, and likeness. Right now, they're using name, image, and likeness as like, okay, here's an example. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I believe I'm just going to throw out numbers that are clean, right? Every player on Texas's roster gets, let's say, $100,000. But if you're an offensive lineman, you get $50,000 on top of that, because now you're incentivized through the pancake factory. So when we get to revenue sharing, every player on a roster will make, once again, I'm bad at math, so I like using clean, even numbers, $100,000. Well, then let's say Dr. Pepper gives a name, image, and likeness deal to Jalen Milroe. And one of the things is like, hey, you already have your base salary through revenue sharing, but if you make it to the college football playoffs, right, you're more marketable for us, because then we can continue using you through all these different Fansville commercials, stuff like that. There's an extra $250. Oh, if you make it to the Heisman ceremony, we can do a commercial around that. Yeah. There's an extra $500. If you're an All-American, there's $1 million. Right. Like, I think that there's a really easy way to do that. But in my opinion, the only way it gets easy is if we restructure the way all these guys are getting paid and do what Coach Sean just alluded to, which is the revenue sharing model.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Good feedback, fellas. I appreciate you guys. You guys do your thing. Have a great segment. I appreciate all you guys watching me for the last 45 minutes. I will be on As News Happens, or one of our guys will be right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you again, Jenny, for supporting us and supporting the coaches. And we appreciate you guys. Ty, Coach Sean, do your thing, man.
Appreciate it, Kyle. See, it's interesting when he calls me coach. I guess I could consider myself a life coach.
Hey, Ty, you know more than some of the coaches I've coached with, brother. Trust me. No. I have no problem calling you coach.
I wish. I'm just, I think one of the things, Coach, that I always like saying is I know what I don't know, and I know what I know, and it allows me to like understand like I have no idea what's going on here. So last night I was actually like I know about the veer and shoot, but I actually went on and read articles written by Ian Boyd, who actually works with Inside Texas, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever read his stuff, but my favorite things he does are write down schematic articles, like on War Stack, stuff like that. He
Yeah.
had like a 5-page paper on the veer and shoot and all of the different intricacies on it. And I was sitting there last night driving my wife crazy. And I was like, did you know that they're going to try and get out a bunch motion? And she's like, I don't care. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Was up a little late, man, breaking down some film for one of my partners who just got a job at Penzance Valley, helping him, sending him some notes, and just doing things, man, trying to stay in the groove, trying to stay sharp. You know how it is.
If you ever want any all 22 film, Coach, let me know. Have
Gotcha.
I ever showed you my vault?
No, you haven't.
It's beautiful. It's organized.
Really? Okay.
It's pretty, right?
Yeah.
Let me see what I can't do. But what I think it'd be fun, man, to do like maybe over the summer, pop in here and break down like some games and stuff.
Right. That'd be awesome, bro.
So this is my all 22. This is 2023. I have all of these different. I even have Harvard.
Wow.
But this is all of my all 22.
So what did you do? Just download it, whatever?
Well, I actually got really lucky and I met some NFL scouts and I just started talking to them. And they were like, "Oh, you do content?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, I do." And they were like, "Oh, do you ever need all 22 film?" And I was like, "Yeah, because right now I'm just trying to find a game off YouTube or something like that." And they were like, "Cool." And so then they just sent me this. And so like this is 2023, but I have all the way back to 2000, I believe, 18.
Wow, that is
And it's just
awesome.
drive. So I can send you all of Washington's offense. I have all of
Yes.
Washington's offense from this past year. And I sent it to Merrill, I believe. I'll send that your way.
Please.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of, and I'm pretty dialed in with Washington's offense. I watched a lot of their offense over and over and over. Old school way though. It was DVR, record, rewind forward. Really watching plays over and over and over, really getting myself well versed on how he runs counter, how he runs pin and pull, the bunch formations, the pre-snap motions that they bring, how they attack, how they pick a safety and attack that safety with different formations, different personnel groups, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 13 personnel. Washington's offense was outstanding. And it reminds me a little bit, just a little bit, of what Sark used to do with the pre-snap motion, what Lane Kiffin used to do to find out if you're playing man, things of that nature, to see who follows the receiver across the formation. So I really enjoy that. We did none of that last year. We did none of it. We just lined up and ran a play, So I'm very ecstatic to see those offenses come to University of Alabama.
It's interesting you say that because I've always said like those Sark's offense and DeBoer's offense aren't 100% analogous.
Right.
They share commonalities, and the commonalities they share are the things that, for the life of me, I don't understand why we did. It's the reason why I get into debates all the time about like, oh, well, how good can Jalen Milroe be? And I know a lot of people will point out like, oh, well, he missed this route or this route or this route. What did our offensive coordinator do to give him help? You have a 5-star quarterback in Texas, Quinn Ewers, who's fantastic. Coach, I got to watch him in high school. Matter of fact, if you go back, and this is a challenge to the undefeated after we get out of here. Stop with your big words, Ty. I'm like the Rain Man of football, right? Like if you get me doing anything else, I'm like a fish out of water, right? But but whenever you go back, watch that. Southlake Carroll and Austin Texas. Was it Austin Westlake? Yeah, Klubnik was at Austin Westlake. If you watch that state championship game, you'll see me in the back of the end zone. Just stand. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Auburn tried to targeted attack me, ladies and gentlemen, but they failed. Just like they do at football and basketball.
Yes.
And pretty much everything else. I don't know. But where I was going with this, Coach, is that you have a 5-star quarterback in Quinn Ewers who has a lot of upside. He has a really talented coach in Sark, and Sark is making it easy for him. He will eliminate one half of the field and say, okay, on this play, just read the left half of the field. And we're going to do a lot of pre-snap motion to isolate somebody and to give you a real clear picture. Jalen Milroe, very talented, but he wasn't the 5-star number 1 player in the nation, right? Which I understand stars don't matter, but it's just driving home a point that Texas and Sarkisian has the wherewithal to be like, I don't care if I had the number 1 player in the nation or a 5-star. I'm going to simplify the game for him. We get Jalen Milroe at his first year starting, and Tommy Rees is almost just like, go do.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do with that? I don't know. I've always been interested in hearing your thoughts on that, Coach.
That's a fact. That's a fact, man. This is why I always enjoy having offensive. I'm an offensive guy, played offensive course. To me, I like having offensive coaches because every year that we've had an offensive coach, the quarterbacks, no matter how talented they are, always do well, right? They always put us in great positions. All we got to do is play decent defense, and we'll get to the game that we all want to get to. I love having an offensive coach. Even though Tommy Rees is an offensive guy, even dating back to Notre Dame's days, Tommy Rees was never a big pre-snap motion guy. Never a big pre-snap. Even when we played Notre Dame, not a lot of pre-snap reads at all. I watched Ian Book struggle against us because they were so vanilla. They were so predictable. So I knew Tommy coming into the SEC would have to make some adjustments. You're not going to be able just to line up and attack everybody. Sometimes you play teams with equal talent, and you're not just going to be able to line up, run a basic package, and score. A lot of times, Jalen Milroe was put in situations where receivers were covered, and he had to make things happen with his legs. So I'm glad we have DeBoer, who's a master offensive guy who knows how to manipulate secondaries, who can take and this is what I used to like Lane and Sark for. These guys can take what you line. They don't just call a play, just a scripted play. They have plays for each situation, right? So what you line up in dictates their play calling. Those are always the best offensive coordinators. If you want to line up in this, we have plays for that. If you want to line up, you want to run safety high, I'm going to call plays that attack one safety high. You want to line up in 2 safety high, we have plays that attack your front 7, right? To make your safeties bite in. And then we're going to hit you with the big one. I always love offensive coordinators like that understand how to manipulate a defense, not just call plays.
I love it. And Adam, I'm going to hit this super chat, but right up here, who said this? Because you're right. Dwayne says last season Ty was livid on this subject every week. The lack of pre-snap motion. Oh, you should have seen me in the or post-game streams, Coach. I was screaming.
Yeah, of course.
Now, interested in hitting this. I'm going to briefly touch on this, Coach, and then I really want to hear your opinion. Adam, thank you for the $20. Thank you for the discourse, as always, my guy. He says, it bothers me that Milroe repeatedly appears with DeBoer in public. I'm also tired of hearing that we are a work in progress and that the atmosphere is relaxed. We may have a culture problem and a quarterback problem. So I'm going to disagree on a few fronts here. I think my thing would be, if Milroe is free to be with DeBoer, I would imagine the other quarterbacks are free to be with DeBoer as well. Right. And so like that, maybe they're just not choosing to be with DeBoer, but I'm of the opposite. We know we have a quarterback that has got real high upside, but he just needs a quarterback coach. We haven't had that since Sark and AJ Milwee in 2020. Right. That's the hard truth of the matter is we have not had an elite quarterback coach since Steve Sarkisian and AJ Milwee in 2020. Bill O'Brien didn't do it for me. And I don't think I need to open up that can of worms, right? Because I will have like an absolute just rage-induced attack on this show talking about Bill O'Brien. But I would assume that all of the quarterbacks have the ability to follow around DeBoer or be with DeBoer. And it's Milroe that's trying to soak up as much as possible. And then when we say we're a work in progress, we're all a work in progress, Adam. And I think especially at the college level, especially you're a work in progress. You're there to be taught. That's the whole point of college, and an atmosphere being relaxed. I don't know about you, coach, but for me, there is something about hard coaching that's great, right? It's great. It gets the most out of you, but you don't want an overbearing atmosphere. You don't want an atmosphere where people are so scared to fail that they don't try.
Yeah.
You have to take these risks. You have to try. And part of trying to be great is embracing the possibility of failure, because only with failure do you learn. So I look at that a little bit different. Coach, your thoughts?
First, let me give a big shout out to D Rivers, man. That's my partner, Landez. That's his son, D. D, great kid. Was an absolute beast in football himself. He's an LSU fan. Much love to D. D, man, it's good to see you, young brother. How you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Tell your father I said what's up. His father played with me. Shout out to D Rivers, man. Much love to you, D. I love you, partner, for sure. God is good, man. Listen, as far as Adam, let me address, if you can, put Adams. Can you find Adams' comment again?
Yes, sir.
To put it up there.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this to you, Adam. And I like Adam because Adam is very outspoken, and I love people that have opinions. I love that. I think that's having an opinion opens dialogue where you can learn something and we can take from each other. I love that, Adam. Thank you for that $20 super chat. But I'll say this to you, Adam. I've seen commercials. They don't air them here in Alabama, but there's commercials with Kirby Smart and Carson Beck. I've seen Sark and Quinn in pictures together on the walking. I guess that's the Strip in Austin, throwing up the Texas sign for fans. Adam, he's the starter at University of Alabama. You're going to see your coach with the starting quarterback. That's just what it is in any sport, as far as football is concerned, in any level of sport. The starting quarterback is the face of the team. There is no competition, Adam, right? I see what you're saying. If there was a competition, that's why you don't see Brian Kelly with his starting quarterback, right? Even though we may know who we think is going to start, right? Jalen Milroe is the starter, Adam. So of course he's going to be in pictures. They're going to be out, whatever, with the head coach. I mean, that's nothing new. That's been going on for years. I see AJ with Coach Saban all the time, right? As far as a work in progress, I think anytime you don't win the championship, you're a work in progress. I think anytime you lose 3 to 4 starters and 1 secondary, you're a work in progress. I think when you have as many kids as we've lost out of the portal, you're a work in progress. And I think anytime you have a coaching change from a coach that's coached 17 years and won 6 national championships to another coach, no matter who the coach is, you're a work in progress. So I would say, yes, Alabama is a work in progress. Every team that did outside of Michigan, who is a work in progress as well, is a work in progress. That's what I would say.
I love that answer, Coach. And I think Jermaine has a really good point here that I didn't even think about, Jermaine. Let me get it, because this is interesting. Jermaine Mims says, Ty, isn't it feasible that Milroe is seen everywhere with Coach because it's part of his NIL deal to make appearances? 1,000%. 1,000% logical.
Facts.
I didn't even think of that, but that would make a ton of sense, right? Like, great comment. I didn't even think of that, but that's 1,000% logical. Now, in terms of competition, Adam, I think that there's competition all the time, right? Just because Malachi Moore is the starting safety doesn't mean that there's a competition not brewing there. It just means that if the season started today, Malachi's back there. And that's Deontay Lawson, right? There's competition everywhere. But there's also a guy that understands, hey, Jalen Milroe has ability that nobody else on this roster does. And one of the favorite things, Coach, and I'm interested in hearing your perspective on this. One of my favorite things Coach DeBoer said to Milroe was when he was like, hey, I am really happy that you want to be the best quarterback you can be. I'm very happy that you're determined to stay in the pocket and make the throw. But don't forget, you were given an ability by the good Lord above that only 1% of the 1% have. Use it. Don't shy away from what the good Lord granted you in terms of your natural athleticism, being able to just take off and be the fastest football player on the field, because it's not just speed. He's got a rare blend of speed and power that you just don't see a lot. I loved when he told him that, because it's like, hey, we're going to help you be the best quarterback, but be you. Let's get you to be the best quarterback. What was your thoughts whenever you heard that?
I thought it hit the nail right on the head. I think it hit the nail right on the head. I think this kid needed that type of structure. Because to be honest, and again, no disrespect to anyone, you have to know what you're looking at. They put Jalen last year in a lot of situations that were, how can I say it, that were not winnable situations. It's a reason why on a lot of plays that he held the ball a long time. Receivers were not creating separation. People were not open. You would have to watch the all 22 and go back and see no separation. There is nobody open. basic route combinations. And a lot of that was the receivers too. It wasn't just Jalen. A lot of receivers quit on routes, very lazy on deep digs, very lazy attacking the seams. Very, very lazy route running, man. Very lazy route running. We got to get better with that. But yeah, though that is the type of that's the type of news he needs to hear. That hit the nail right on the head with Jalen, especially with a quarterback like Jalen, the first-year starter, incomplete in totality. Sure, he came in on some spot duty against Bryce, with Bryce got hurt, but a very young first-year starter that had been through 2-3 quarterback coaches, if you want to call them quarterback coaches. So yeah, he needed that, especially coming to this season, having experience, having a full season and some disappointment under his belt. I think this year you will see exactly what Coach DeBoer was talking about.
100%. And Adam says Burton was open all year. Burton was open in sequences, but here's the thing, Adam.
Facts.
This is where we get into nuance and context. Tennessee game, for instance, right? I have the all-22 game of it. I just showed the vault of the all-20. And so I was watching that the other day, Coach, and there were times where it's like, okay, if you're just focusing on Burton, he's got separation. He's open downfield. Hit him. You pause. Yeah. And then you look and you're like, oh, why didn't you? Oh, because the left tackle just got smoked. And now he has to move out of his spot. And instead of looking this way where Jermaine Burton is, he's now got to move out of the way of this edge screaming at him because our left tackle just got smoked. And now everything, this whole left side of the field is shut down due to that, because he can't just stand there and try and bang off that throw. So now he's got to evade and look this way. So you're not totally wrong, Adam, but what I would say is there's a level of context and nuance that I also think needs to be observed in this situation. And yes, there are times where people run open. In the Michigan game, there was someone, Coach, who had a play from the Michigan game, and they were like, oh, why didn't Jalen Milroe hit the tight end across the middle? And in the freeze frame, there's a Michigan defender about to smoke him. Like he's 3 feet in front of him, and I'm like, what do you mean, why didn't he hit him?
Exactly.
That's passing lane wasn't open.
Thank you. I'll say this too. Alabama was 120th in pressures giving up. That means we gave up just about as much pressure as any team in the country. I think it's only what is that? 11 teams worse than us in giving up pressure on the quarterback. So you have to take everything into context, guys. You got to take everything into context, man. This kid was under pressure like no other. We were worse than the SEC, and pressures allowed on our quarterback. There was not another team worse than us. We gave up a record number of sacks. Now, a few of those sacks were Jalen Milroe's fault for trying to look downfield and holding the ball, but a lot of them wasn't Jalen Milroe's fault. We just got beat. Our tackles just were getting their asses whipped, to be completely honest. Ronnie Jones says 1 play away from winning the national championship. You mean us, Ronnie? I don't think we were 1 play when we were 1 play away from beating Michigan and going to the national championship. And that was last year's team was 1 year away. Certainly not this team. But yeah, I mean, Adam says he thinks Jalen was he don't have any issue with Jalen. He thinks he's an average quarterback. And you guys have provided no evidence to show otherwise. Okay, let me provide you with this, Adam. Every team that we played, and Sark talked about this, prepared to stop Jalen Milroe. Nobody else on that offense. Especially, and you saw it later on in the season. Every team that we played devised a defensive scheme to stop our QB. They'll tell you that. See, people don't understand. Listen, and if you played the game, you understand what I'm about to say. If you're the best player on the team, whether it's running back, quarterback, a Julio Jones type wide receiver, if they roll coverage, it's things you can do on a defense to stop that guy, right? Send spies for a quarterback, right? Load the box for a running back, roll coverage to a receiver. It's things you can do from film study. And as the season go on, you have more film that you can watch in ways to stop that guy. Everybody that we played keyed on Jalen Milroe, right? This is where other weapons have to step up. This is where other people have to do a great job. Now, this year with a competent offensive game plan, with a competent pre-snap motion type counter type offense, where you cannot show this guy one defense and expect that to work when we can show pre-snap motion and confuse you with that. You have running backs like Justice and Jam. You will see the true talent of a Jalen Milroe. And this I promise.
I completely agree. Adam, thank you for the $10 saying, I respect your view, but you both blame everyone but Milroe. No, we both have admitted on several occasions that he missed routes. We've both admitted on several occasions that there were more sacks than needed be. And Milroe was trying to look downfield, didn't bail from the pocket, took a sack that he shouldn't have. But this is where I'm like, Adam, we have to look at things in totality. And he says, I think your bias is, and maybe it is, but I will say this, Adam. I've been trained in reducing bias and objectivity, right? There's a reason why I have this gavel. They fell. All these different gavels, right? These are moot court. I got my national awards right there, So I've been trained in like eliminating bias, and I've been trained in looking at things as realistically as possible. Now I'm human, so of course I have some level of innate bias, but where I think that we don't look at this is, you say we aren't providing evidence, but we've stated other coaches did things to simplify the game for their quarterbacks. Reese didn't. Now, if I'm then taking the counter approach, what evidence do you have on the contrary that had we have done those things, Milroe would still be bad? What evidence do you have on the contrary that those things wouldn't have helped? Or what evidence do you have that states we did do these pre-snap motions? We eliminated half of the field and only had him reading one half, because I didn't see any of that. And I think David Mills does something really cool here, Coach. He says quarterback A, 69% completion, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 12 games. Quarterback B, 66 completion, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 13 games. Quarterback A is Quinn Ewers. I don't even have to look that up. Quarterback B is Jalen Milroe. One of them has been a 3-year starter with Steve Sarkisian, and the other just started playing with Tommy Reese. So while I agree with you, Adam, that Jalen Milroe isn't faultless, where I think that you get caught up is you attribute everything to Jalen Milroe. Coach, I've said this before. You talked about being 120th in pressure allowed.
Yep.
How about being 129th out of 131 in sacks allowed?
It's a fact. I was just about to go there. Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just this year, Coach. Did you know over the past 3 years, Alabama has averaged as the 99th offensive line in the nation in terms of sacks allowed? That was with Bryce.
Yep.
Bryce is a magician. Adam says evidence, Texas, he missed. But once again, Adam, the thing you're not putting into nuance is, did our offense simplify things for Jalen Milroe? That's where I think we're kind of missing each other, right? And we'll see. We'll see. This year will be the ultimate telling tale, but that's where I would disagree with you, Adam, is I don't think that you're looking at the totality of the circumstances as opposed to just like, oh, well, and listen, if our offensive line is that bad, who's the quarterback that's going to be able to take them to the promised land? You got to have a quarterback that, yes, they did. What'd they do, Adam? Because we had the lowest pre-snap motion rate I've ever seen. We didn't do any. What screens did we run?
None. I was just about to go there too. Facts.
We didn't do anything to, but I enjoyed it. Of course, Adam. Of course. This is talking ball, right? This is, you're at the table with your friends talking ball. This is what we've all grown up doing. That's why I love it. And I love the discourse. But Coach, what is this the which one is this? That's not our schedule. I'm going to pull up our schedule, right? Because yesterday you and I were talking about we ran pre-snap motion repeat. My brother in Christ, I'll have to go look, but Alabama had the lowest rate of pre-snap motion we've had.
I gotta disagree with you, Adam. You might want to go watch that game again, Adam. We didn't run a lot of pre-snap motion against Michigan. Michigan whipped us at the line of scrimmage. So nothing, all that inside outside zone. They obviously watched a better film study than we did. We ran inside zone at like 11 times. I think we might have got only time we ever got any positive yards when they put Justice in, right? That defense whipped our asses. We ran straight high lows against that defense. Receivers couldn't get open. They were getting jammed. They was roughing us up in the secondary. Our receivers got punked, right? Jalen had nobody to throw to. The tight end over the middle a couple of times, right? They were calling inside outside zone, and those defensive tackles were moving our offensive line. Tyler Booker could not block those guys. Jaden Roberts could not block those guys, right? What do you want Jalen Milroe to do, right? I want you to answer me this question, guys. Name me a team that's 120th in pressures allowed and a team that gave up 43 sacks and still make it to the playoffs. And you and then a better question on that is, after you name me that team, because I only know one, tell me why they made to the playoffs. Was it the defense? The defense just was so good all year? What was it? Was the offense just great all year? What was it? We got beat the first year starter at quarterback by two teams who were in the college football playoff. We didn't lose to Georgia, right? We didn't lose to these other teams on the season. We got beat by Texas, a college football playoff team. We got beat by Michigan, the eventual national champion. We destroyed everybody else minus South Florida, the game he didn't play in. I ask again, name me another team with 43 sacks given up, 120th as far as allowing pressure on the quarterback, that could make it to the college football playoff. And you think the quarterback wasn't the reason why? You better go watch again. Some of you better go watch the Kentucky game, the LSU game, the Texas A&M game. What's wrong with y'all, man? Come on now, be real.
Caleb, that's I have no idea the comment you're even referring to, man. So all good. All good. So let me see if I can't pull this up. I had someone said that they feel like Jalen's only a run. Okay, yeah. Jalen, guys, Jalen is far from a running back, right? The dude, in my opinion, didn't run enough. I'd love to see him stove off on people more because he takes off and it's done. Looking at Milroe's face with a pair of high-powered, Milroe was not going through his reads. He was, why do we beat dead horses? We're just having fun, Patriot life. We're just having football conversations, my brother.
Shout out to Patriot life.
Yeah, the MVP. But we are going to pull this up. Let me see if I can't present, share screen. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So we got Alabama's schedule. Got Alabama's schedule right here. Coach, thoughts on the early portion, right? So how do we want to divide this up, right? In terms of like early portion being the first 3 games, intermediary being the next 3 games, and then that back stretch.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect.
What do you think about these first 3 games?
I think the first 3 will give us a really, really good, especially that third one on the road. I tend not to read too much into home games against that type of competition. I just want to see us go out, not have a lot of injuries, and get through it crisp, right? Have your ups and downs as you would in any football game, but actually dominate the game in the second half, make your adjustments, as Coach Saban would do. We may stumble the first half of a little bit, come out in the second half and put our foot on their neck and do what we're supposed to do, right? The third game is where it gets tricky for me. Now, by no stretch of the imagination am I picking Wisconsin to beat Alabama, but I will say this. That would not be an easy game. That will not be an easy game. Luke Fickell is a great coach. Now, Wisconsin doesn't have the talent that Alabama has, but what has talent always meant when you're playing on the road? That's a Big Ten school. That's a school that is very prideful at their home stadium. They have a lot of traditions at their home stadium that they do for home games. They're prepping for Bama as we speak right now. We watched Texas, a Texas team that wasn't very talented at that time, was not very talented. Go back and look. Steve Sarkisian's second year at Texas. We went on the road to Texas and we almost lost that game. Going into Madison, Wisconsin will not be a cakewalk. Those guys have a great coach. I got a lot of respect for Luke Fickell. That guy has won a lot. He's won a lot. He understands football. He played the game. And Madison, Wisconsin will be rocking for Alabama to come in there. Don't make no mistake about it. They'll have a record sellout. This will be their biggest game they've ever had. I promise you. When Alabama comes in there. Now, we should still win the football game, but we're going to face some adversity in that third game. Alabama will win the football game. I'll tell you that right now. I believe that in my heart. But Alabama will face some adversity. They're going to be excited. That crowd's going to be loud, right? And I like that. I like us to face that adversity before we go into the Georgia game at home.
Yeah, Coach, I completely agree with you about Wisconsin. I think that it's going to be a game where Alabama wins, but I'm very excited to have it early because it is going to be a game where, listen, you talk about the things that you think that Fickell can help improve on the offense. They got a cornerback out there, Coach, that I was sitting here and I always said, like, hey, I'm no insider. I'm a fanalist. I just know I watch entirely too much football. You guys saw my vault. I don't have a life outside of college football. That's the sad reality of this. So I'm always watching college football. And I watched a ton of Wisconsin because they got that cornerback out there, Coach Ricardo Hallman. He's a dog.
Right.
He's a beast. He's going to probably be an All-American this year. He wasn't last year because you had the likes of Kool-Aid, Terry and Arnold. You had Will Johnson. You had Jabbar Muhammad. Like, you had a lot of cats out there. I think Ricardo Hallman is as good as anybody in the nation this year. So he's going to be a problem. Interesting to see how they kind of scheme around him because I don't think you're going to want to test him too many times. Coach, I think he had 7 interceptions last year.
Right.
Like, you just don't test him, right? Like, go somewhere else. Interested in that. And I love that it's on the road. Now we get into this intermediate portion. And now we get into the first game that I'm like, okay, this is a game that Alabama could, and listen, any game you can lose. But the Georgia game is the first one where I'm like, okay, now we have a real conversation. Thoughts on Georgia, Coach? I love that they have them at home. I love that Milroe played them last year, but Georgia's just a solid team, and there's no two ways around that. What's your thoughts?
That's going to be a tough game, man. I mean, say what you want, guys. Alabama could lose that football game. If we don't be on our P's and Q's, Alabama will lose that football game. The one thing that I do like about playing Georgia is Kirby is stubborn. Kirby's a stubborn coach. He's not going to change too much. He's very, very, very Nick Saban-like, right? Kirby is a defensive guy. He wants to win with running the ball, pounding the ball, beating you up, and win with great, great aggression on defense. Kirby is not going to spread you out too much. He's not going to attack you in different ways. He's not going to run a lot of pin and pull counters with off the pass motion. He's not going to run a lot of that stuff, right? He'll mix a play or two in there just to keep you off balance with Carson Beck because Carson can throw the ball. But Georgia's going to pound the ball. They're going to run that thing right at you, and they're going to play great sound defense. Now, that bodes well for Alabama. I don't know how well with this 4-2-5. I'm on record for telling you guys I'm a 3-4 guy. I've done segments about it. We run nickel a lot at Alabama, but still, when you break it down to the nuts and bolts, nickel is still different than 4-2-5. It's the same alignment, just about, right? But I'm talking about personnel, right? So that's a losable game for Alabama, man. That's a very losable game. But I think if Coach DeBoer comes in, takes a page out of Nick's book, and just the base defense we played and how we how we were physical with Georgia, I think we'll be fine. Georgia's going to have a point to prove. They've lost to Alabama 5 of the 6 times we played, or 6 of the 7, whatever it is. They have lost to the University of Alabama. The last time they played us at Alabama, we beat them 41-27, I think it was, with Jalen Waddle and Mac Jones and all those guys. They'll come in upset. They'll try to play hard because they don't want that stigmatism of y'all beat everybody but Alabama. So it'll be a very, very tough game, but I do believe we're in good shape. And I do believe we could possibly win that game on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Coach, I agree. This is the first game where I think, and we'll continue the conversation today, but this is a game I think we will continue talking about.
Yeah.
Until it happens. Here's another thing that I do think bodes well for Alabama. When I love the point you made about Texas earlier, because it's true. Yes. Texas, they spent all offseason prepping for Bama, both years.
That's a fact.
And that's not my opinion, guys. I talked to people who work with like inside Texas. They told me that.
It's a fact.
They straight up told me that. Texas content creators straight up told me that. Shout out to Texas Homer. I think he does some of the highest quality content on the platform. Genuinely, guys, you need to go check his content out. Does docu-series styles, will break down, like he did a video years ago, Coach, on Pete Kwiatkowski, their defensive coordinator, and broke down every stage of his career, his defensive philosophy, who inspired him, where he came from. It was fantastic. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. It's fantastic. The reason why I bring that up, Coach, and the reason why I think this bodes well is Georgia, they don't get to spend all offseason prepping for Bama because they've got a few games before that. Don't they start off the year with Clemson?
I think so. Yes, sir. That's 100% correct.
You can't just overlook Clemson and be like, okay, well, we're just not going to prep for Clemson all year. All right. Like, so I think that bodes well for Alabama, but everybody's saying, and you're right, they don't have Bowers anymore. Thank the good Lord above they don't have Brock Bowers anymore, because that guy is a handful in college to cover. They do have Oscar Delp.
Yeah.
He's a monster, right? I'm not saying he's Bowers. Brock Bowers is incredible. That tight end room is insane. They have got more than one guy there. I'm interested in seeing their wide receivers, but Coach, one thing I will say about Georgia on the offensive side, that Bobo offense is very much analogous to that Monken offense, where I almost call it like, I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say this, because it's not. It's almost like a Walmart offense in terms of its like factory. You get what I made? Like it's so methodical. It's so like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I almost equate it to a factory, and that's not a bad thing. What the point is they can hurt you with their running backs. They can hurt you with their tight ends. They can hurt you with their wide receivers, and they're all going to be very methodical. Everything is very well thought out, very methodical. I'm interested in seeing how our offense is going to test this Kirby defense. But Coach, can you imagine if Kirby loses to DeBoer his first year at Alabama? Oh, that's going to be like the boogeyman just came up all over again.
Yes, that's what I was saying. That is a game that Kirby will want over all others. I know it's the most recent one, and you always want the most recent one, but that young man does not want to get this nice $13 million contract, having lost Alabama 5-6 times, and now you lose to their first head coach at Alabama. The great thing about this game to me is I think that will be the first game where the Bama fans will be livid. I think Alabama will be livid when Georgia comes to town. We need our best showing on offense. We need to make Bryant-Denny Stadium an absolute hostile environment. I think Georgia will struggle with that game. I do. The question will be, can we stop the run? Because if Georgia has success on the ground, even a little success, we'll be in trouble. We'll be in trouble in the back end. Like I said, I don't want to go into these games against teams like that with young secondary players. Not even Georgia. I don't.
Yeah, and hopefully the pass rush gets home. And this is what I will say. Last year, we left a lot of meat on the bone against Georgia. 4 interceptions, really 5, but one of them was, I believe one of them that Malachi could have had. it would have been a tough one. I mean, he was completely outstretched and the ball hit up here. That's a tough ask. But 4 times the ball hit our defensive backs right in the hands and they dropped interceptions. We could have completely dismantled that game. You can't leave. It's almost like, Coach, and I know I've told you this before. Did anybody get to watch UFC 300? Did you get to watch that, Coach? Well, there was a fight. Jalen Turner versus Money Moiciano, right? Mm-hmm. And in the first round, Jalen Turner hits him with a bomb, knocks him down. I mean, he hurt him. Moiciano hits his back and he's on the ground. And instead of following him to the ground and finishing it, Jalen Turner tries to walk off like he just got a walk-off knockout, right? Well, Moiciano, this is UFC. So he's on the ground. He gets back up. Jalen Turner ends up losing the fight. Why do I bring that to your attention? You cannot toy around with the Georgia. You cannot present yourself an opportunity and not capitalize on that opportunity against a team like Georgia. You have to be able to capitalize. You can't give them that many chances, right? They're just too well coached. Looking at this next game, Coach, Vanderbilt. Do I even need to say anything about Vandy?
We play Bays, we'll win that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We go into South Carolina. South Carolina's got issues, Coach. They've got issues, and I like Beamer. I really liked Rattler this past year. I thought he was really good. Really good. This is an interesting comment, Coach. I want to get your opinion on it. Al Sanders says, hey, Coach, Kirby's defense. Yeah. I apologize, Coach.
Go ahead, Coach. You good?
He says, Kirby's defense has the same Achilles heel that Saban's defense had. A very mobile quarterback who can also hit passes in tight windows was a major problem, and I think we have that guy and the offense. Great point. Coach, what's your thoughts?
That's a fact. That's what I was saying earlier. See, Coach Al, get it. Coach Al, you can always tell the guys that coach this game. That's 100% fact. That's what I was just saying. Kirby's a stubborn guy. He's not going to change. He'll tweak some things, as all coaches do. Kirby wants to win one way. He wants to run the ball and play good, aggressive defense. He don't want you to score. The lower the score, the happier he is, right? That's when Kirby's in his comfort zone. A defensive coach hates high-scoring games. An offensive coach loves high-scoring games. They hate the low-scoring games. They panic and start doing out-of-character things to score points. That is a whole fact. Kirby has the same Achilles heel that Coach Saban's defense had, and we do have the guy to defeat that. That is 100% facts, Coach Al.
Shane says, Sean, a coach, Ty more like a GM. Brother, I'm the guy when they're drafting that you see in the background sweeping in the back, just making sure everything's
Don't believe in Shane. Don't believe in we all go to Ty. Trust me.
Now you want the advice on how to get that perfectly swept floor? I'm your guy for that, man. I'm your guy for that. But Coach, South Carolina, I am interested in them. But they have some of the same problems Alabama had in terms of their offensive line was not very good.
Right.
They just lost their best wide receiver. They just lost Spencer, and Spencer was great last year.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to talk to you about this, Coach, but before we continue on, I got to get this off my chest from the draft. I'm a Vikings fan. So when we traded all of those picks to go get J.J. McCarthy, you reach for J.J. McCarthy. And I think they did it because I think they wanted Penix. But then Atlanta went and got Penix. And they were like, okay, well, now we got to make a move. But, Coach, I'm going to pose you a different scenario, right? And granted, hindsight's always 20/20. You don't know that Kool-Aid's going to fall out of the first round. But I'm going to pose you this scenario. You have the draft that the Vikings had, where in the first round they got Dallas Turner. Great pick. You needed an edge rusher. That was a fantastic pick. But you also got J.J. McCarthy. Or if I was the GM, Coach, this is what I would have been pushing for. No, let's get Dallas Turner, and let's let that be our first round pick, right? Mm-hmm. Fine. The reason why I'm not going to trade up for a quarterback is because in the second round, I'm going to use all the draft capital that we used like to trade out of the second to third. I'm going to give away picks this year and next year. My second round would have looked like this, Coach. Spencer Rattler and Kool-Aid McKinstry. So then in the first 2 rounds, you're talking Dallas Turner, Spencer Rattler, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Come on now.
Exactly. And I believe they could have did that.
They could have.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think so, Ty. But you know how it is. I knew when Penix went that gum early, it was going to send panic waves through everybody else that wanted a quarterback. And what usually happens, Ty, when you need a quarterback and they start coming off quick, you end up picking one way earlier than you want to.
You get
right?
happy feet.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's and that's the good thing about a QB. If you're a QB, you're hoping that the guys that's expected to get drafted in front of you come off early. Because instead of going 17, you're going to go 9th, right? Instead of going 20th, you're going to go in 12th or 13th. It's just the way of the draft is. The teams that need quarterbacks will always shoot up to pick these guys. And quarterback is that one thing. And so many quarterbacks that went this year, it's going to be a lot of people that's going to be extremely happy or a lot of people that's going to be extremely sad, you know?
I hope I'm wrong, Coach. But I was like, I sent Coach Jay the Team America gif where the guy's just throwing up whenever we picked JJ McCarthy. I said, live, look at me. And it was just like throwing up everywhere. I was like, what are we doing? We got rid of Kirk Cousins and then we picked up Kirk Cousins light. Like, I don't know what the heck is happening here, but I'd be very happy in a few years to be proved wrong there. Adam says Dallas Turner almost murdered Jaden Daniels. You know what's interesting, Coach? I want to get your opinion, then we'll hop back into the schedule.
All right.
I had one of the guys I love making content with. He's a Texas fan. He breaks it all the way down. He's great. He called me one day, and we were talking, and he's like, Ty, I have a little bit of a hot take. And he's like, I'm not saying that Dallas isn't an incredible college player, because he is. So I don't want you to think when I say this, that's where I'm coming from. He's like, but I think he's going to be an even better pro than he is a college fan. Sandman, my Texas fan in here, you'll know who it is. It was Nino. Sandman called me and was like, I think Dallas Turner is going to be better in the NFL because he terrifies me. Like, he just plays with that 80s edge. What do you think about that?
I think Dallas Turner at Alabama was used because it was a position of need. We needed pressure on the quarterback. So a lot of times Dallas is very, very effective. Very, very effective. Standing up, hand to ground. I think at Alabama, he was used per down and distance. Well, we got to use him this way on second down. We got to use him this way on third down. I think the NFL would do just like they did with Will. They'll put him in a position. You have other people just as talented as Dallas all over this defense, so you won't be able to double him. You won't be able to chip him that much. I think he'll have success in the NFL, just like Will has had, because he'll get more one-on-one situations, whether his hands in the dirt or standing up. That's a whole fact. That's a whole fact.
Yeah, I loved that comment. Going into this next stretch of the schedule, Coach, you got Tennessee, Missouri, then the bye week, LSU. This is a rough stretch. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's talk Tennessee, because we know Heupel has that beer and shoot offense, and you and I both said it. I love our young talent at cornerback, but they will pick on you. They picked on experienced cornerbacks 2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Here's my only question about Tennessee, Coach. Do you believe that they have – I like Nicholas Iamaleava. He was my favorite quarterback out of that class. But do you believe that they're going to have the quarterback play and the wide receiver play to be able to challenge you vertically to capitalize off of everything they want to do in that beer and shoot offense?
You know what? I do. I really do. And I'm going to tell you why. In Josh Heupel's offense, you don't even really have to be – I mean, Milton had a cannon. No, I didn't really fear him throwing over the middle. I didn't fear him throwing 10 to 15, 20 yards down the field. That deep ball is really all he threw when it was on, when it was accurate. Hendon Hooker, very talented guy. I didn't fear him on mesh routes. I didn't fear him in intermediate throws. He had a very accurate deep ball. In Josh Heupel's offense, it's about spacing and getting the player open, right? So Nico doesn't even really have to be outstanding, right? It's about confusing the corners, putting them in situations where they have to make a quick decision, right or wrong. It's about having options. You know what I mean? The spacing really makes that offense go. The wide splits really, really make that offense go, man. They want to get a lot of receivers. And they still have that. I think they have that Pig guy. I forgot his last name. The little fast guy. I think he's still there.
Yeah.
They want to get that guy matched up on a safety. They want to get Malachi one-on-one. Same as they did DeMarco Helms. They want to get the safety matched up one-on-one. And when a receiver runs by a safety, you don't even have to be that great of a quarterback to make that throw. I think with the offense they run, which is going to be the same offense that South Florida runs, you don't even really have to be that great of a quarterback to make some of those deep balls. Josh will challenge you downfield. And if you can't cover deep from the middle of the field out, from the hash mark to the sideline, they're going to score some points on you. That's a whole fact. The way Georgia beat them up when they had Hendon Hooker is Georgia did something that we didn't do. Georgia got pressure on them. Georgia beat them up really, really bad from the quarterback spot. That took them out of their normal game. We couldn't get any pressure on them for some reason.
Disrupting that Briles system is all about immediate and hey,
facts.
JT, great comment, man. Great comment.
Facts.
You were on it.
Yes, exactly. If you give them time in that offense, you don't have to be the most accurate quarterback because it's going to be people running open all over the field. They'll put your safeties in positions to where they have to play one-on-one against slot receivers, against guys coming on mesh routes, on out and ups, on dig routes, on high lows. Unless you have a cover deep safety, a guy that can really, really, really turn his hips and run with the receiver, you're going to be in some trouble unless you can attack the quarterback, which is what Georgia done. 100% facts to JT 83.
Yeah, great comment. This is why I love the community that we have, Coach. And listen, I gotta say, I'm lucky enough to say on my channel as well, I experience much the same, where people are having football conversations.
Yeah,
I love that because I'm learning. It's great. It's great. Muhammad has. Yeah, I mean, Texas has some inexperience at the cornerback position as well. But I gotta say, Lance, I'm a big fan of Manny Muhammad. I wanted Bama to get him real bad. I think he's going to be a dude. I'm just very happy they didn't get Jabbar Muhammad, Coach, because they're cousins.
Yeah, I know, right? Family.
Can you imagine Jabbar on one side and Manny on the other? I'd be like, all right, this is
crazy.
Great.
Crazy.
Let's go into Missouri, Coach, because I think you put it perfectly. If I add anything to the Tennessee game, it will only be to a detriment, right? You hit the nail on the head. Missouri. Don't sleep on Missouri, ladies and gentlemen. Don't sleep on Missouri. You have got a quarterback that's experienced. You've got a coach that was on the hot seat, quite frankly. I mean, last year, Coach, we were talking about Eli Drinkwitz and Neil Brown being two coaches that like, oh yeah, they're probably gone after this year. Nope.
That's a fact.
Boy, was I wrong. And they have got some really interesting pieces in this offense. And they also pulled the number one prospect in the nation, depending on where you look, Williams Nwaneri. Now, I am very happy, Sandman, that y'all were able to get Wingo away from them because I would not want to go up against that offense with the wide receivers they have if they were able to add in Wingo. Because, Coach, I don't know if you watched that Texas game. Wingo's going to contribute, and he's going to be a dude year one.
Yeah, facts.
Real
facts.
Good.
Yes.
So what are you thinking about Missouri, Coach?
Man, listen, Missouri is a losable game. I'm telling you. I'm going to give you an underrated coach who I respect his offensive philosophy, and he's gotten better and better every year he's been in the SEC, and that is Eli Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz is an underrated coach, and he know that ball. I'm trying to tell you, you better listen to me. They beat up Ohio State. And the game really wasn't as close as it was on the field. If you look at what they did to them, they out-schemed Ohio State. Now, we all know Ohio State has some people missing. They out-schemed Ohio State. They out-coached Ohio State. I don't know if Missouri's quarterback is back this year. Is that kid back? Oh, man. Listen.
Back. But they did lose their running back, who was like a Swiss Army knife. Man, was he good.
Yeah, that kid was great. He could catch the ball, run the ball. I think did he get drafted?
I don't know if he got drafted or not. Cody Schrader, but
Cody Schrader.
Please, was he good?
Man, listen, Missouri is one of those teams just like us on offense. They will scheme you on offense, just like Tennessee. That is one of those games that may be a high-scoring game. It may be. Do we play them at home or on the road?
It's at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Okay, thank God. At least that one's at home. I didn't want to play that game in Missouri. No, sir, not at all. That game, Missouri has a potential to cause us some problems unless we get the defense really, really, really fixed on this vision coverage, because those guys are going to chunk that thing all over the rock, all over the field, right? Now, what I like about it is Missouri, a lot of times on the road, especially, will run the ball to set up the pass, right? Now, they'll throw that thing all over the road. They'll take what you give them, right? Eli Drinkwitz is a master. He's a great, great, great halftime adjustment guy. You know, he come back out, he do something totally different. That's going to be a game that our offense may have to win that game for us. That's a whole fact. But I do think it's winnable. I do think Bama will win that game. I think our offense will be in sync by that time. But I still worry about our defense. That's another coach and defense and offense that I don't want to see with young corners.
Yeah, Luther Burden is real good. That's exactly why.
It's a whole fact, man. That kid potentially is the best receiver we'll play all season. Potentially, arguably.
JT agrees with you, Coach. He says they've got the best wide receiver in the conference this year, too.
JT knows his ball.
That's why I'm so happy they don't have Luther Burden and Wingo. Now, listen, it is a thorn in all of the SEC side that Wingo is now with Steve Sarkisian, but Bama doesn't play Texas this year. So that's a problem for a different day, a different conversation. I'm so happy they don't have him. And you know what's interesting, Coach, before we move off of Missouri, they have an NIL law that I got to give Texas a lot of credit for being able to pull Wingo, because in Missouri, the second you sign, you're eligible for NIL, and it's not signing your letter of intent. You could sign a financial aid agreement and start benefiting from NIL in high school. Shout out to Texas, because I'm really happy that we don't have to play Wingo and Luther Burden this year. So thank you, Sandman. Thank you very much. Moving into LSU, Coach, I have a hot take, and you might disagree with me. And if you do, I'm really interested in this. I was wrong, by the way. For whatever reason, I thought Campbell got drafted. He didn't. I was just hoping he got drafted. Their left tackle, Will Campbell.
Oh, my goodness.
He didn't. But they have to replace their best two wide receivers. And in fairness, it's LSU, Coach. There are a few teams out there where if you tell me, oh, they lost two wide receivers to the first two rounds of the draft, I'm going to be like, yeah, they probably have two more that will be going in the first two rounds.
That's a whole fact. Yes, sir.
They lost Jaden Daniels. And, Coach, that defense was dog water last year.
Yes.
Now, they made coaching changes. They got Bo Davis. They got Corey Raymond back. But do I think it's going to be enough in 1 year? I don't know. My hot take might be that LSU doesn't scare me as much as they normally do. Now, I still don't like playing them in Death Valley. Gosh, because that's a great stadium, right? Objectively speaking, I don't care who you're a fan of. A night game in Death Valley, that's all you ask for as a college football fan. But, Coach, what do you think about LSU? Because I think that LSU, they don't scare me as we sit here right now as much as they did even a year ago.
I'll say this. To me, it does not even matter if LSU has a winning or losing record at this point. LSU in Death Valley is always a game that we will potentially lose. LSU will play one of their better games against Alabama. Brian Kelly's first year in this league, first year in the SEC. Oh, he's going to have his welcome to the SEC moment. Well, guess what happened? They whipped their asses, right? We lost. Overtime, whatever you want to call it, close game. They beat us. They beat Alabama, right? We lost to Tennessee and LSU that year, both on the road. LSU will play Alabama as tough as they will play anybody on their schedule. That is a game that they circle. That is a game that's looked at in their state as a Super Bowl game. Brian Kelly will have that team ready to play. That is a losable game by every stretch of the imagination. Now, to Ty credit, should we lose that game? Absolutely not. For the very reasons Ty just said, right? But I will say this. Those two receivers are gone. True. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, those all three, whatever it is, those guys will be gone. They still have a plethora of talent on their team. I dare say they have probably a better, minus Ryan Williams. I think LSU receiver room is deeper than ours. I do.
Okay.
I really do. LSU has guys on that team that could potentially play at Alabama, if not start. They have some dogs on their receiver, man. Now, here's the thing. The question we got to ask ourselves, Ty, is Nussmeier going to play as well as Jaden Daniels did his last year? That's going to be that question will hinge LSU season, right? Nussmeier now I will say this. Nussmeier played in the bowl game and he looked spectacular, right? That's always a sign. Ask Mac Jones, right? Ask University of Michigan about Mac Jones. Hello, my name is Mac Jones. I'll see you next year. Ask him about that. So if Nussmeier has a great year, LSU will be a problem. On the road, LSU will be a problem. All in all, we should defeat them even in a close game with a solid, stellar defensive effort. Nussmeier's not going to put the ball on the ground and run it. He's not going Jaden Daniels us to death, but he will throw that thing. Nussmeier is a very live wire when it comes to throwing the football. Brian Kelly's a good coach, man. Brian Kelly's a good coach. I don't care how you want to strike it up. He's been successful everywhere he's went. And he went to the SEC championship his first year with a team that I didn't think that was that talented. So I think LSU is a losable game. I think we will win in a fight, as it usually is in Baton Rouge. But I do think that's going to be a fight. I do think that's going to be a fight, Ty.
And Coach, I looked it up. It's interesting. Both Alabama and LSU has a tough game before, right? Bama plays Missouri, and then we get the bye. LSU plays A&M, and then they get the bye. And we know how those
Facts.
LSU A&M games go. They are dog fights. They are so much fun. JT, you make a great point here saying playing at LSU doesn't bother me and shouldn't bother any Bama fan. I don't think I say that just from like being bothered by it. It's one of the best atmospheres in college football, in my opinion, right? Like a night game at Death Valley, stuff of legend, right? Like everybody I know that's been to an LSU game at night's like, oh, it's incredible. The atmosphere there is incredible, but Bama has done a good job in that series. So I'm interested in LSU, Coach. I'm interested in LSU. Next is Mercer. I don't think we need too much of a conversation there. Then we go at Oklahoma. Coach, what's your thoughts on this one?
I've spoke on this game in length. If you ask me, Coach Sean, pick a game that you think Alabama's going to lose. You have to pick one. I picked this one. Okay. I picked this one. Oklahoma, to me, with the style of team they have and the style of offense they have and the crowd, I think this will be one of the most shocking environments that Alabama has. I know LSU will probably be the loudest or the whatever you want to call it, the most vile, hostile environment. I think Oklahoma will be just as vile when Alabama comes to town. I don't know what time this game is, but playing on the road at Oklahoma will be a challenge for Alabama. I am telling you, Brent Venables will have that team ready to play. This game is very dangerous to me. Now, I know it'll be people saying, oh, we don't have to worry about it. Y'all said that at LSU 2 years ago, too. Oh, we ain't got to worry about that. Bryce just come off Heisman Trophy. We lost that game. These games to where you go out and you don't play well because of the crowd, because of the hypeness, the jitters, whatever you want to call it. You look up in the fourth quarter and you're ass in a fight. That's bad. That's bad, all bad in all directions. This is a very dangerous game, man. Oklahoma is not a pushover. Don't be fooled by what you've seen from the Texas game. Don't be fooled. Oklahoma has talent, right? Oklahoma is Oklahoma. They are not a pushover. Their fans aren't pushovers. Their history aren't pushovers. This team will not be afraid of Alabama. They'll be anxious because they want to measure themselves against Alabama. It's at their home. Those people will get in line to buy tickets early. Like that place will be packed. Norman will be livid for Alabama to come in there. I think we will have to play very, very well to win this football game. I think we can, obviously, but this is a dangerous game, in my opinion.
I 100% agree, Coach. And I am decently familiar with this roster.
Yes,
I
sir.
know this Oklahoma team very well. I cover Oklahoma not as frequently as Alabama, but probably the second most frequent team I cover is Oklahoma. They just got Dominic Williams yesterday. They do a great job in the transfer portal. In fact, Oklahoma, Texas, and Alabama for 2 years in a row were the only 3 teams in the nation that could boast, hey, we have a top 10 recruiting class and we have a top 10 class in transfer portal acquisitions. They have got a lot of linebacker talent. Not only is their starting 2 going to be good, they got cats in the background that are going to be good. Like Stutzman is going to be linebacker 1. And I don't know who's going to be linebacker 2. I think Jaron Kanik is actually getting caught, and whether it's my favorite coach is Kip Lewis. They got a linebacker out there, Kip Lewis. I love his game. I think that he's a guy that if he gets an opportunity, he's going to be a real solid player for the Oklahoma Sooners, but they also have Samuel Omoshigo. Very talented cat as well. Then we talk about the secondary, and we know Brent's going to play that cover 3. The one thing that I like Alabama in this game, and here's where I think Alabama could have an advantage. Oklahoma has to replace all of their offensive linemen, like all of them. If Alabama shows the ability to generate a pass rush, not only from the edge, but from the interior, Jaheim Otis, Tim Keenan, if they show the ability to generate a pass rush from the interior, I feel much better about winning this game at Oklahoma. But we have got to be able to get on their quarterback. He's young, he's talented, but they also have Seth Luttrell as an offensive coordinator now, which means they're going to be a bit more principled than well, I don't want to say they're not going to be explosive because that's not what I mean. They can still be very explosive. What I mean is that Jeff Lebby is a little bit more flat, right, as an offensive coordinator. Seth Luttrell is a bit more principled as an offensive coordinator. Yeah. This is going to be a game. I agree with you, Coach. This is a losable game, but if Alabama shows the ability to be able to generate pressure from the interior, I like our chances. Right. But anytime we talk about Oklahoma and the offensive line, Coach, even if you have questions, they have Bill Bedenbaugh, and he might be the best offensive line coach in the nation. I hate to say it because Bama tried to see if we could get him this year, and he was like, no, I'm staying here, which I get. He's an Oklahoma guy through and through. Bill Bedenbaugh is a great offensive line coach. How many of these offensive linemen does he continue to send, and they're on like their second or third contract, and they're the highest paid offensive lineman in the nation? He knows what he's doing.
That's a fact. I was hoping we could get that guy. I did a lot of research on him, and you're right. He's absolutely awesome. Those guys will be ready to play. We should win that game with great defense. That might be a game that we really have to bear down and play well. If we don't turn the ball over and beat ourselves, I really, really, really do think we have an opportunity to win that game. But that game is one of the ones that I would say is dangerous.
Yeah, don't sleep on that defense. I know this is not the Lincoln Riley defense. They're in year 3. And I always say year 3 is where you're going to see changes, where you're going to see the most movement. Now, Coach, we get into the game where I've been over here stretching, right? Like I've been ready for this all day. Auburn. My hatred for Auburn runs deep. I'm just messing around. I just like messing with Auburn fans. Listen. I don't care how you feel about Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Guy can coach. And they've got some wide receivers out there now. The question is, Coach, and this is why I know Auburn will be. It's Auburn. It is a rivalry game. Crazy things happen, Coach. Am I being a bit reductionist by saying if Peyton Thorne is their quarterback, I'm not worried? Am I being reductionist in saying that?
Based off last year, I don't think you are. Because unlike Jalen, I didn't see Peyton make a lot of great throws last year. Against us, they were very, very simple. They actually ran the same play several different times with the quarterback keepers. You know, I don't want to say I'm not impressed by the young man, but I have not seen yet enough from him from the pocket to even classify him as a threat to Alabama. Now, their defense played well against us last year. Their defense played exceptionally well. They were physical. They played very well in the back end against us. And we just didn't help ourselves a lot on offense last year. We didn't run the ball very well against them at home. I don't really fear Auburn at all when we play them at Alabama. For some reason, when we play them at Tuscaloosa, we whip their asses pretty well. I just don't like going to Jordan Hare while all that wonky stuff happened. It seems like it's cursed. Facts. It's cursed. They have some spiritual help when we play them on the road, but playing them at Bryant-Denny, I don't really have a worry about them. I hate to say not a worry. Every game is a worry for me, but I much rather play them at Bryant-Denny where we constantly put belt to ass. The truth is in the details on them, right? And I feel much better that game's at home, not on the road.
Yeah, I think it's those trees, Coach.
Something. Facts. Yeah.
I think it's those trees that are haunted. But you know what's crazy? War Beagles. That's pretty good. I like Sandman. He says War Damn Chicken. And then David, War Beagles. That's great. I've never heard that one. I like that a lot. I'm going to use that one, David. And I'm going to credit you. Don't worry about it. But I always write things down, Coach. Just since we've been talking today, this is my notebook of notes that I take because, like I said, I'm trying to learn, right? So I got all these notes from our conversation.
Yes, sir.
Last thing, Coach, because you've been all over the place today. We've gone for an hour and nearly an hour and a half. So my last question to you, because this was a lot of fun going through the schedule. If you had to guess Alabama's record right now, what would you say?
I would say if I had to, I'm going to give you this is my optimistic prediction. Optimistic prediction is 11-1.
Okay.
My pessimistic prediction, which is more what I like to lean to, I would say 10-2 regular season. If I had to pick the two, if you twist my arm and make me pick the two, I'll say Oklahoma and probably either Georgia or LSU. Even if we lose to Tennessee, I will never pick us to lose to them. I dislike Tennessee very much.
I love it. I'm very close to you, Coach, but I'm probably a little bit more cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I think 11-1 is doable. I think 11-1 is doable, but I think for me, 10-2 is what I look at, and I'm like, okay, that's I think a very reasonable.
Yeah.
If I'm being real pessimistic, sweet home Adam, you beat me to it 9-3. I could see a 9-3 based off of because Tennessee, ladies and gentlemen, we got to remember they got a pass rush now.
Yeah.
They got something there. Georgia's always tough. Missouri's going to be tough. And
let's be real, Ty. Excuse me for interrupting you.
No,
let's be real. Tennessee, if you're looking for teams that get hyped to play Alabama, look no further than when Tennessee beat us. LSU is hyped to play Alabama, but to LSU's credit, LSU has won a lot in the past. LSU has national championships of late with Joe Burrow, with even before that with Les Miles. LSU has won a national championship. They've tasted the ultimate victory. They'll storm the field and do all of that. Tennessee tore the damn goal down and took it out of the stadium, right? Then tried to jump on the team. You know what I'm saying? I mean, those guys will be on 10 to play Alabama at Knoxville, right? So, yeah, that goes right what you were saying, Ty.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, LSU is not going to throw a mustard bottle at Lane Kiffin, right?
Facts.
Tennessee will. So they're willing to take it places that very few other fans will. The Tech fans are the same, Coach. They'll throw batteries.
Oh, man.
I don't know if you've ever heard that. Texas Tech, they'll throw batteries.
Get injured like that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, or tortillas. I like the tortillas, right? Throw the tortillas. Because I'm going to go and gather them bad boys after the game, and then I'm going to be over here having a little bit of a barbecue with some barbacoa, some carnitas. It's going to be a great time.
I got a quick question for you, Ty, before I get out of here. And it's a quick question for the chat as well. Roll Tide, the Patriot Life, my broski from another Moski. Much love, Patriot Life, man. I appreciate you, brother. Let me ask the chat and my brother Ty this. Now, you can only have one. Jay Townsend, my brother. I didn't even see Jay. What's up, Jay? Shout out to my brother Jay Townsend, man. Shout out to Jay. Here's my question, Jay. I want to ask you this, Jay. Here's the question for the chat. I'm a little concerned about them too, Jay. Here's my question for the chat, though. You can only have one, because I know some people say blah, blah, or blah, blah. You can only have one. Chat, Ty. If it's one team on our schedule, or just in general in the world, but preferably on our schedule, that you absolutely cannot lose to. Now, what that means is this, we let's say we're 11-1. Let's say we were 11-1. Yet that one loss can't come to this team. It absolutely, positively can never come to that team. I think everybody here knows who mine is. I'm that fan that rather lose to Auburn than lose to Tennessee. Losing to Auburn to me is bad, but it don't get my blood pressure up because it's just like the little cousin who beats you in 21 once every 6 months. You just slap them and go on about your way. I don't care. They don't even celebrate for real. They'll talk a bunch of mess. But losing to Tennessee is physically bad. Like, it makes me, like, I feel like I got a temperature after I lose to them. Like I think something physically happens to me, my DNA, when I lose to Tennessee. Like, listen, when I lose to Tennessee, I'm physically pissed. Like when I go outside, punching trees, all of that. I'm the fan, tearing TVs down. I can't lose to the Vols, guys. So one loss, who can you not lose to? We're 11-1. Who does that one loss can never come to?
Listen, you make a great point. You do. But I have got to go the other rival route. Here's why. One, they lost to a 4-letter acronym team last year. You lose to a 4-letter acronym team, I'm clowning you for years. Ask Mario Cristobal when they lost to Middle Tennessee State University. I'm still clowning him about that. You lost to a 4-letter acronym team? No, that's bad.
Yes.
Here's the thing, Coach. As much as I completely agree with you, we play Tennessee at Neyland. That's a great stadium. I'm not saying that it's the hardest stadium to play at. I'm just saying I really want to go see a game there because, like, they will pack that house and they want to beat Alabama, right? Bad. We play Auburn in Tuscaloosa, and the last thing I want to see is in DeBoer's first year for him to take a loss to Auburn in Bryant-Denny. Now, if it was in Jordan-Hare, I would have a different answer for you, Coach, because Jordan-Hare's cursed. And I've watched Georgia be the far superior team and Alabama go to that stadium and get hexed by those darn dead trees. So my answer is going to be Auburn because it's at home. Now, we have two questions that are similar, Coach, and I think we can answer them very quickly. We have this one. Thank you for the $10 donation, Adam, saying which we say 9-3 in a playoff berth. And we also have OG Goat asking us, do we believe 9-3 gets us to the playoffs? I'll answer very quickly and then pass it to Coach. If the SEC cannibalizes itself, like I think it might, I think the SEC might cannibalize itself this year. What I mean is I just think that they're going to whoop on each other.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Beautiful. I think 9-3 can get you to the playoffs. Coach, what's your thoughts?
12 teams, 9-3, SEC. I think so too.
Yeah. Brad says 3 losses doesn't get into the playoffs, in my opinion. It's tough to imagine, but it is a 12-team playoff. You know they're going to want SEC teams in there. And I think there's a real possibility that there's only one team in the SEC that has 1 loss at the end of the year.
Think about this. And think about this, Ty, excuse me. If the 12-team playoff was this year, Ole Miss was, 10-2? What were they, 10-2, 11-3? What was Ole Miss?
They were 10-2.
Ole Miss would have made it.
Georgia and Bama.
Okay, cool. I'm finna say Ole Miss would have made it. Ole Miss would have made it in. So that's a good point for sure.
Yeah. Really interesting question. So we'll have to see. Thank you for the membership, Jay Townsend. Love having you around. Love having everybody in the Undefeated around. Coach, we've approached an hour and 30 minutes, my man. It has been an absolute blessing being able to talk with you. I enjoyed last night. I enjoyed today. Let the people know where they can find you when you're not on camera.
You guys can tap in with me at JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter, and just started this YouTube page. Same thing at JMHO Sports Talk on YouTube. Doesn't have any content yet. I mean, it's literally started this morning, right? I'm going to be having some classes with my brothers to really find out how do I create stuff myself. And I'll be putting a lot of good things on there. Bring your opinions. I love opinions. I love them. The opinionators, bring them all. I love them. Love to have people like Adam who gonna challenge you. I love stuff like that, man, and talk real good ball. So tap in with me if you guys get an opportunity. And I appreciate you all as always. Much love to my brother Ty, who do an outstanding job on both his platforms, all of his platforms. Every segment I can catch him on, I try to. And shout out to all my brothers, man. Shout out to Jay, Smook, Kyle, T, Ty, Merrill, everybody, man. All my broskies from another Moskies. Love y'all to death, man.
Yeah, guys, you can catch me over at Around the Table Sports when I'm not over here, if I'm not on Bleacher Report. And I would say you can catch me on Twitter, but let's be honest. If I'm on Twitter, I'm more than likely calling someone a lobotomite, which I did, which I absolutely did. I don't know if you saw that post about the bussing with the boys. They were talking to Jalen Milroe, and he's like, "Oh well, I don't care if Michigan cheated; they won." And all the Michigan fans were like, "Excuses, excuses." And I quote tweeted it, and I was like, "This is why I say Twitter's filled with lobotomites. Like y'all don't even listen. What are we doing?"
He actually was giving you credit. It don't matter. Y'all beat us. That's what he was trying to say. Oh my God!
I got
what excuse did he make? Yeah, what excuse did he make? You know? Oh my God. Facts.
Shout out to the entire team. You know what I mean? Love working with Coach Sean. It is truly a blessing. And I've always told him this ever since the first time we did that early signing day stream together. It is one of my favorite things to be able to work with you, Coach. So it truly is a blessing. Shout out to Kyle and T in the background. Shout out to Coach Smook. Shout out to Jay. You always know. Those are my guys. And Merrill, I think Merrill may be coming back into the fold. Talked to him a few nights ago, so excited about that. But shout out to everybody in the Undefeated, Nicole, Adam. I mean, I'm not going to be able to name all of you, right? There's too many of you, and you're all just incredible at what you do and the support you give. Until next time, I'm going to introduce you to my very good friend, the spinning wheel of doom.
Yes.
And it spins.